Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. Before we get into the numbers updates, I want to give a little bit of a broader update on the general state of unemployment benefits in Oregon now that we're 7 months into the pandemic. Our top priority has always been getting benefits out to as many people as we can, as quickly as we can, whether through our regular unemployment programs or one of the several new programs built in just the past several months. When the pandemic hit Oregon and many businesses were ordered to immediately shut down, it was like a tsunami hit the employment department. In the early months of the pandemic, we simply couldn't address the incredibly high number of claims we received, and we didn't have enough employees to process those claims. We also faced the double challenges of processing and paying those claims while also building out brand new benefit programs. We are slowly bouncing back and we continue to make real progress. We're launching new benefit programs more quickly, like disaster unemployment assistance, making it easier for claimants and employers to file claims online, making all of our resources more accessible, all while fine-tuning our processes so we can make our way through a never-before-seen number of unemployment claims. And while we are making very real progress, we know that there's a lot more work to do. Our top priority remains paying people their unemployment benefits. Right now, we're focused on resolving the oldest claims and bringing the number of claims currently in adjudication, which is our biggest current challenge, to where we are resolving them within just a few weeks, the national standard. I want to expand on both of these ideas a little bit. Our decision to focus on people who have been waiting the longest may not show up as good news in the data and reports that the federal government collects. We are managing the program to what is best for the people that are relying on us for assistance, not to the way the federal data is reported. This is important to us, and it reflects our values of integrity, respect, and community. When we say that we're focused on resolving the oldest claims, we mean the people who have been waiting the longest. Well, we know that any lag time at all is problematic, and we hear what a burden this is on those who have had trouble getting their claims processed and paid, and still waiting to get answers. We want to alleviate that more quickly for those who have been waiting the longest. Each state has dealt with the crises brought on by the pandemic in a different way and has looked at how to handle their work, and they've made different decisions about how to prioritize things. Early on, Oregon adopted some core principles, looking at what would help the most people as quickly as possible when rolling out new programs, and focusing on those who have been waiting the longest. Each time we pay someone who's been waiting too long, that payment counts against us in the federal timeliness standards and makes those federal numbers look worse. If you look at the number of people that are receiving their first unemployment payments, it shows that we are making good progress getting caught up. When our timeliness numbers look good, it will be because we have worked through the backlog and are continuing to get benefits paid out very quickly to people when they file a new claim for benefits. The adjudication process, as I mentioned, is our biggest current challenge. On September 30th, there were about 52,000 people whose claims needed adjudication. This is a grave problem and one that we are focused on and that we are solving. While it is a serious problem, it is important to remember that many of the people whose claims need adjudication have received some benefits, and many of them continue to receive benefits now. For example, about 18,000 people have received benefits under the benefits while you wait approach. Some people may have just 1 week of benefits that is waiting to be adjudicated, and they're still receiving benefits for all the other weeks they've claimed. Or they could have multiple weeks that need to be adjudicated, but are still receiving benefits for many other weeks. And there are some people where all of the weeks that they've claimed need to wait for the adjudication process to resolve. For those people, we know that the waiting and not knowing what the outcome will be or when is particularly painful. And that's why we're focusing our efforts on tackling this challenge and resolving those claims as quickly as we can. We're doing everything that we can to speed up the process. We have additional support from an outside vendor. We have a steady pace of increased expertise by the hundreds of new adjudicators that we've hired in recent months. We're using that September 30th figure of 52,000 people in adjudication as our goalpost. Last week, of those 52,000 people, I shared that there were 48,000 whose claims still needed adjudication. This week, it's about 45,250. We will continue to report on our progress working through all of those claims that needed adjudication as of September 30th. And as with the other goals that we've set and reported progress on, like the handling of the PUA claims when we were doing the initial processing of those, and that was a big roadblock, we anticipate that we will get through more and more of these each week and that our pace will increase each week. Some updates on some of the other programs that are going on. The Disaster Unemployment Assistance Program has a deadline under federal law for when people can apply, and that deadline is closely approaching. It's Friday, October 23rd. The DUA program provides a safety net for people whose unemployment was directly the cause or impacted by the September wildfires if they were not already eligible for some other type of unemployment program. Anybody whose employment was impacted by the recent wildfires and who has not yet applied for DUA must submit their application as soon as they can, because that Friday, October 23rd deadline is one that we can't move. This program applies to people that are in Clackamas, Douglas, Jackson, Klamath, Lane, Lincoln, Lynn, or Marion counties, only if those people were not eligible for any other benefit programs. There's more information, applications, instructions, and additional resources regarding this program at our website, oregon.gov/employee/disaster. So far, the program has paid out just about $74,000 to about 80 people through the safety net program. I will point out that this is just a fraction of the people that were impacted by the fires and who we have provided assistance to. The majority of people who are impacted by the fires are able to get benefits under one of the many other programs that we're administering. The Lost Wages Assistance Program is one that we started paying benefits a while ago, and I've reported that we have had some issues that we're still working to resolve with completing all of the benefit payments. Implementing each new program gets more complicated as it's had to interact with more and more of the new programs we've implemented over the past several months. While we've paid out most of the lost wages assistance payments to people, there are still some people who have not received some or all of the payments that they're eligible for, and we're doing more testing now and hope to be releasing additional payments later this week for the large majority of those people. And as I shared last week, we're proactively reaching out to people to confirm their eligibility if they had not yet certified that they were eligible for lost wages assistance, but they inadvertently received benefits. We have mailed notices to people, we've been calling them directly and sending email notices as well. And I do want to point out that the eligibility standard for lost wages assistance is a much easier standard than many people may believe. So we really are encouraging anyone who hasn't already certified to do so right away, and they can do that through the online claim system. If somebody wants to certify, but they have language access needs, they can also contact us at OED_language access@oregon.gov, or by calling our language hotline, which is 503-606-6969. If somebody who already received lost wages assistance benefits is ultimately found to be ineligible for them, those payments are considered overpayments under the law, and we will work with them to recover them as easily as we can. We also know that not everyone seeking benefits right now has reliable internet access at home. They have few options outside of calling our phone lines or using a computer somewhere else. While the call wait times have improved significantly, we know that the average hour-long wait time is still too long. This makes it more difficult to file claims, to get a status update, or to simply get more information. We know that throughout these disasters, it's been too difficult for people to reach us or for us to communicate with people about the status of their claims. While we've made a lot of progress, we know that this is still a difficult situation for many people. We have added many more ways for people to get information about their claims and about our programs and to contact us. One of the best options is for people to submit a form using the Contact Us form on our mobile-friendly website. That's unemployment.oregon.gov. And if somebody doesn't have internet access themselves reliably, they can have someone else submit the request on their behalf, and include information about the best way for us to follow up with the person needing assistance. Other options include mailing or faxing forms, materials, additional information, or even questions to us. For the regular unemployment insurance program, that mail can be sent to the Oregon Employment Department at 875 Union Street Northeast, room 201, Salem, Oregon 97311, and the fax number is 866-345-1878. If it's regarding the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, the information can be sent to P.O. Box 14165 in Salem, Oregon 97311, or faxed to 503-371-2893. And while we're continuing our focus to get benefits out to people absolutely as quickly as we can, we're also continuing to explore other ways for people to reach us, as we know that it still isn't easy enough. Another resource that we are recommending to people is to check 211info.org or calling 211 to look into potentially getting support with accessing internet services. We're continuing to provide public webinars about the benefit programs we're administering. The next one is tomorrow at 1 p.m. It will focus on adjudication, and we hope to explain to people what adjudication is and some of the many reasons why a claim may need to be adjudicated. People can visit our social media pages to register for the webinar. We've also been sharing updates about the agency's modernization program. Last week, the Department of Administrative Services released an addendum to the modernization project request for proposal, outlining how we will proceed with the vendor selection process. The activities include virtual site visits with states that have implemented and operated, or will soon operate, a completed solution of either tax or benefits or both systems, comparable to the solution that we are seeking, as well as additional documentation and discussions with both of the finalist vendors. As we're in the evaluation phase, we are again limited in what we can talk about until we've completed that process, but we will provide as many updates as possible along the way. I also recently shared that the Paid Family Medical Leave Insurance Program had started to do listening sessions, and those are now in full swing. These virtual town halls are listening sessions where people are invited to provide input to better inform the program's development and administrative rules. The next town hall, which will focus on equivalent plans that employers may already have in place or want to put in place, is scheduled for October 27th from 2 to 3 p.m. To register for this or another town hall, or to watch recordings of prior town halls, you can go to the PFMLI website, which is oregon.gov/employee/PFMLI. And to update on the numbers regarding benefit claims in Oregon, between March 15th and October 17th, we have paid out $5.3 billion in benefits. That means we've paid more in benefits over the past 7 months of the pandemic than we did in the prior 9 years. The number of claims coming in has certainly dropped from earlier in the pandemic. During that same time frame from March 15th through October 17th, we've received a total of about 590,000 claims for regular unemployment benefits. That compares to just under 86,000 claims during the same time period last year. And we continue to be very current with the new claims being filed, doing the initial processing of those in most cases within just a couple of business days. The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program has paid out $266 million to almost 68,000 people. We continue to be caught up with our handling of the WorkShare program claims. We have a little over 1,600 employers that are using WorkShare, providing benefits to just under 66,000 people. With that, I want to thank you for joining us again today and emphasize that we are dedicated to getting Oregonians the benefits that they qualify for, that is our top priority. We're continuing to focus our work, and we'll continue to share our progress and other updates as we do everything we can to get people benefits as quickly as we can. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, David. I'm going to begin opening up the lines, and I will call on reporters in the order you RSVP'd. And reminder, if you're joining us by phone, hit *6 to unmute yourself, and you may have to try that a couple of times. So I will wait just a couple of moments if I don't hear somebody pipe in. So first, we have Lindsay Nadrich with Coin.
David, for these 45,000 people who still need adjudication, is there any way to provide them any kind of update or time frame? Because the thing I hear from folks is like they just don't know when you're going to finally get to them.
Right, and we're looking into that. It's really difficult for us to do because our system can't kind of prioritize and sort those claims in a way that lets us give meaningful status updates to people without having one of our employees who knows enough about the claim system and adjudication go in and look at each individual claim. And we know that not having the information is incredibly stressful. At this point, if we were to try to give each of those people an update on the status and kind of an estimated time of when we might be able to resolve it, it would actually slow down our ability to resolve those claims. So we're continuing to look at ways to do that. But our primary focus, to be frank, is on focusing on getting those adjudication processes done as quickly as possible and speeding it up. We are seeing progress, and we really want to speed that up as much as possible so that when people hear from us, it's soon, and that it is hopefully with the outcome of the adjudication process.
And you had mentioned you have a vendor helping you get through that. Can you elaborate more on how you're speeding things up?
Sure. We have an Oregon-based vendor, Epic, that has been working with us. And we've used them in a few ways, and we're continuing to be able to have them help us even more. So we've been able to identify categories of claims where maybe we needed a little bit more information, and we have been giving those claims to Epic. They've been calling people to try to get additional information. Sometimes it's pretty straightforward information. Sometimes it's going through in a lot more detail, but they're gathering that information so that it can then come back to our experienced adjudicators who don't have to spend the time trying to reach people over the phone, kind of playing phone tag and trading messages. They already have most of the information that they need, and in many cases, all of the information, so that they can go ahead and apply the law to the information, make a determination, and issue a decision. So that's allowed us to have the adjudicators who have that expertise and years of experience really get through more work more quickly. And as we've worked with the vendor, they've been great at adjusting so that we're finding even more ways to have them help us more speed up the process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Next, we have Peter Wong with Pamplin Media.
Hi, I'm almost tempted to ask you about federal changes, except that's kind of a wild grab bag right now, so I don't think I will ask that. On the modernization, I suspect DAS is probably more in control of the timetable, but is there any kind of ballpark estimate on how long that process is going to last?
I really don't have an estimate. There's some information in the addendum itself about some of the timelines involved, and that's something that I believe is publicly available. In terms of kind of the end date for that part of the process, I don't have that, and that's something that will kind of depend on how it plays out. And yet DAS is the agency that runs that procurement process for us, making sure that we're following all the state procurement requirements and making the best decision that we can.
Okay. On a different subject, I think I've asked you this before, but what is the department policy on overpayments made to beneficiaries, and what kind of efforts? I noticed, even though the department won't necessarily go after people, obviously the department does have the authority to after the appeal period to deduct or make up those overpayments through reducing other benefits until the amount in dispute is reclaimed. So could you go ahead and clarify the department policy on overpayment to beneficiaries?
Sure, I can give some clarification. It does get pretty complicated, especially right now with so many different programs. So for instance, the Lost Wages Assistance Program, which is a FEMA grant, has some different requirements and it plays out a little bit differently than some of the other programs. When the PUA and FPUC programs were created in the CARES Act, there are some differences there from how it plays out under the kind of traditional state unemployment insurance program. For all of these programs, though, when we think someone has been overpaid benefits, we tell them that we think they've been overpaid and how much and why, and they have a right to challenge that, to request an independent hearing. And not until that is done do we start any type of collection. There are a range of collection tools that the agency has, including what you mentioned, which is basically saying, if you were overpaid money in the past and we were about to give you some benefits, we're going to instead apply those benefits towards the balance that is owed for that overpayment. There's also a number of collection tools. Our preferred method by far is to work with the person to come up with a repayment plan so that we can fulfill our obligation to protect that public money without imposing an undue hardship on the person. And that's what we try to do in every case that we can. When that doesn't work, we do have the ability to garnish paychecks, bank accounts, put liens on property, and intercept federal and state income tax refunds. So we have quite a range of collection tools, and which ones apply to a particular circumstance depends on what caused the overpayment. So if it is an overpayment that wasn't caused at all by the person, there's a much more limited scope of tools that are available to us. And again, we have all of those tools there, and some of them are real important to make sure that we can protect that trust fund, but we also don't jump to those more severe collection efforts unless it really looks like something that we have to do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Kate Davidson with OPB.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I've heard that there have been about 5 confirmed COVID cases at the Wilsonville Contact Center since early September, and I wanted to see if that was true, if you could confirm that. And also to ask, I remember during the Gresham outbreak, OED said 5 cases would lead to the closing of an office for deep cleaning, to ask if that is likely to happen at Wilsonville.
Well, so I can confirm that there's been 5 cases in the Wilsonville Contact Center since September through the present, and we're obviously exceedingly concerned about that. We do a lot of deep cleaning in the offices, so we do cleaning daily. We have taken some additional measures recently. The cleaning that we do meets the Centers for Disease Control specifications. We've taken a number of efforts above and beyond the requirements that are currently in rules, and even some that are being considered in new rules. In terms of shutting the building down, when we had the situation in Gresham, it was a different situation, and we do look at each scenario individually. The physical space in Gresham and the proximity and time of the people who tested positive were both much closer together. So we had a much smaller kind of footprint for the building, and the positive tests were within a really short period of time. Here we have it. It's still something that we're very concerned about, and I'm not minimizing that, but it isn't the same situation where it looks like something that requires shutting down the building for that type of deep cleaning. We did take additional cleaning efforts. And again, we've continued to do everything that we can to keep our employees safe and to really encourage people when they're not at work also to stay safe, so that all of our employees stay healthy and it minimizes the risk in the workplace. Unfortunately, we're seeing the increase in positive cases throughout the state and throughout the nation. And it's so important for people to keep that 6-foot distance. We've installed additional physical barriers to provide more physical distancing between people and barriers to better protect people's health and safety.
And to follow up, how many adjudicators or claims specialists are now working from home?
I don't have the exact number. In terms of claims specialists, for the main group of people that do that work, they are not yet working from home because the phone system is more complicated for us to make that work for them. We are working on that, and we believe that we'll be able to do that. But we were first getting it situated for the more straightforward situation with adjudicators, where they're using the same phone system, but it's a more straightforward configuration. We do have that working for the adjudicators. I don't have the number now. We have worked out most of the wrinkles, we think. We did have a brief period where it was taking us longer than we had hoped to start rolling out more adjudicators to be teleworking. And that was because of some state requirements around the ensuring the confidentiality of the information that we have and how electronic resources can be used and some of the measures that have to be in place. So we worked with the State Enterprise Information Services Office to speed up the testing of some new devices that has been done now. And we are now, I believe we had another 10 adjudicators this week, and we're planning on rolling more adjudicators into teleworking each week until we have pretty much everyone that could teleworking.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Next is Mike Rogaway with Oregonian.
Hey, David. I wanted to follow up on the work from home to start. Where are you in terms of the pilot program that started last summer and the general rollout of work from home? You know, if you had envisioned the number of people that would ultimately work from home, what percentage of the way through that process do you think you are?
That's a hard question to answer, partially because what we're looking at right now is kind of the temporary pandemic situation and not the long-term situation that when we're in the environment we're all hoping for and we're back to a more normal environment. So it's really hard for me to put a percentage on it. I shared a little bit in response to Kate's question that we do have more adjudicators going out, that the claims taking positions, we're working on the phone configuration piece so that we can follow a similar path of starting to roll people out there. In the meantime, we have had some other categories of workers who we also have been able to have telework more. So it is more than just the adjudicators that we've been able to add to the ranks of people that are able to telework and who are teleworking. It hasn't gone as quickly as we would like, and like a lot of things we've been dealing with, there just end up being a lot of complications that add work that takes time before we can complete it. I'd be really hard pressed to put even a rough percentage to it, though.
Okay, then I'll ask you another rough percentage question on another topic, which is LWA. What's your sense? You know, I just want to get a sense of the scale of the holdup there. Are we talking, 5% or 20? Do you have a ballpark idea?
In terms of people that haven't received their payments yet, we think that it's under 5%. And we're hoping that the work that's being tested as we speak will allow us to issue payments to about 10 or 11,000 people right in there who have certified and have not yet received the payments. That will be the large majority of the people who are waiting. There will be a much smaller number of people whose claims just have some very complex kind of procedural routes that they've taken. So we've had people that have switched from one benefit program to another or one claim to another during that 6-week period covered by the lost wages assistance. And that has been very difficult to either put into the computer programming or to allow us to do manual payments in a way that follows the requirements around the tracking and reporting of the funds. So we're hoping that within the next couple of days, the vast majority of the people who have not yet received their benefits, which is under 5%, I would say, of the total people eligible, will receive those benefits, and that there will still be a relative handful that we're focused right now on figuring out how quickly we can get them the benefits and following up with them about the status.
Good. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mike. Next, Dick Hughes with the Hughesisms.
Thank you. I will jump in where my dear friend Peter Wong was feared to tread and ask about the, if you could remind us of how long it would take to implement whatever stimulus or unemployment things Congress eventually would decide to do, not knowing obviously what they would be at this point, but if you have a sense of the parameters of, tell people understand, well, it wouldn't be the next day.
Sure, and it would not be the next day. And it really does depend so much on what the details are. When we've looked at some of the types of proposals that have been actively discussed, by far the simplest for us and what we have urged is if any extension like the FPUC benefits that was the extra 600 or the lost wages assistance, which is the extra 300, if they were talking about adding to the benefits that people receive, by far the easiest is to have that be a consistent flat dollar amount. If they did that, if they kept it pretty much the same as the former FPUC program and just changed the dates that was involved, and if it didn't introduce complications with kind of overlap with the lost wages assistance program, our best exceedingly rough estimate is maybe 3 to 4 weeks to get that rolled out. Worst case scenario from some of the proposals that were being discussed, some of them required a different additional benefit amount for each person and an individualized computation for each claim. That I have a less precise estimate, but we would be looking at several months and not several weeks for something like that. The other thing that I'll just mention is when this happens, we'll follow the process that we have in the past of looking at where we are with the work that we're already doing and prioritize what work to do first to get the most benefits out to the most people. So right now our focus is on the waiting week payments, and hopefully we will be able to get those going quickly. If there's a new benefit program created before we've done that, we'll really have to look closely at what makes the most sense in terms of which benefits to finish up first and get out to Oregonians.
Thank you. That is very helpful to sort of have that understanding and timeline. Then a related question, you mentioned the waiting week. Could you remind us of the various projects and aspirational deadlines you have for them, if the waiting week, and at this point I don't remember what else there is.
Sure, and we had several. Actually, the waiting week is the remaining one. I will clarify that when we've been talking about those, they've been kind of the big public-facing efforts that have to be done. Our IT team is still doing tons of work that has to be done to keep the processes going even after we do the initial starting of making the payments made. And as we have more layers of programs, that follow-on work tends to take longer because there's more complications. But of the kind of public-facing large efforts that we were talking about, the payment of the waiting week was the remaining one that we haven't done. We had talked about the lost wages assistance, implementation of Senate Bill 1701, and I think there may have been one other in there. We also did the disaster unemployment assistance. The kind of aspirational or best estimate target that we have been sharing was that we would be able to start making those waiting week payments by the end of November. We still appear to be on track. I say that with some caution in my voice, as I've shared before. Until we're there, we don't know if there might be more complications. And it is likely that there will be a situation where we're able to get a large majority of the payments out right away. But like with the lost wages assistance, there may be some situations where it takes a little bit longer. And as we're doing the work, we're still figuring out exactly what that will look like and a better idea of a day when we'll be able to start.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dick. Next, we have Dave Young with JPR Radio.
Hi, David. Thank you. Being here in Jackson County, I'd like to hear a little bit more about this lost wages assistance as it relates specifically to wildfire. And you mentioned that there is a deadline looming of this coming Friday. So I would like to know a little bit more to be able to pass along the application process. How is the application process different from the more standard unemployment claims that are tied, say, to the pandemic? And are these claims that are being filed for lost wages assistance due to wildfire, are they lumped in together with the backlog of unemployment claims, or do you anticipate being able to process those a little more quickly?
So there's a couple of things, and I'll try to hit all of the kind of threads of your question. There's a bunch of different programs. The Lost Wages Assistance Program is actually not the one focused on people impacted by the wildfires. It is a FEMA grant, much like the benefits that we're paying for the wildfires, but it's a program that pays an extra $300 per week for a 6-week period that's already passed. It's the Disaster Unemployment Assistance Program that was implemented specifically for people impacted by the wildfires. The key thing there is that it's a safety net that is designed to catch people that can't get caught by any of the other unemployment safety nets that we have. So if people were impacted and they haven't already filed for benefits, they should go to our public webpage, the unemployment.oregon.gov, and we have some information specific to people impacted by the wildfires. The majority of people that were impacted actually have enough earnings, or they're in a situation where they're able to get benefits under the regular unemployment insurance program or one of the other new federal programs that we're paying benefits under. And for those people, they go ahead and they file online is the quickest way, and we do process those. That initial processing of the claims is going quickly, and we are, for those types of claims, intentionally prioritizing the people who are impacted by the wildfires. So people can file the claim. They can also submit a question to us through the Contact Us form, also available on that website, and let us know that they were impacted by the wildfires so we can make sure that we're prioritizing their claim and getting it handled as quickly as possible. For people who can't get benefits under one of those other programs and are eligible for the disaster unemployment assistance, it's a more manual application process. So we have the application form that you can get on our website, can be filled out. We're processing it. Those disaster unemployment assistance claims, we have a small group of people that is focused just on those claims. And because it is a relatively small group of people who are eligible for that program and some specialized rules, we're able to get those processed quite quickly. So anyone that's impacted, the key thing is to, if they're able, to go to our website to get the information, and they can see all the different programs, and we have some information to help people walk through which one they might be eligible for.